Hello. So in this video, we are going to make it where the game can keep going because it's picking new random numbers. So we essentially just need to reset the game at a certain point. Now this on-click function for the guess button is getting pretty lengthy, and sometimes that's just the way that it goes. But now that I'm adding this new feature, I maybe want to define an actual function just to wait off on the sidelines until it's ready. Because if I think ahead a little bit, I think there's going to be multiple moments when I'm going to want to reset the game. So that seems like a good place to just make it a whole separate function so I can just call it when I'm ready. So I'm going to go to the very, very bottom of the code after that curly brace here and define a function called reset. Sounds good. And that's just going to pick a new random number, reset all the variables that I need to. All right, so one of those things is picking a new random number. Oh, I might just kind of copy and paste the random stuff that I did before. Take this, we'll try it, see what happens. All right, and see if it didn't throw an error yet, but yeah, I do expect there to be an error. I would like to look at it and work through it. All right, so let's assume that that's all good to go. What else should be happening too? That um, the guesses left should be set back to 3. All right, so we might copy and paste that too. Let guesses left equal to 3. But just remember that guesses left is already a variable. So we're not going to use the word let anymore. Let is for when you're creating a new variable. So I'm just going to say guesses left is equal to 3. Just establish its value. So in the same token, do this for random. We're not making a new variable. We are just changing its value. Still with taking the ceiling of a random number times the maximum. And then it shows us an error. So like, oh, I should put that back in. But it's because I chose the word. Let's take a look. What's it saying? Attempting to override random, which is a constant. So I scroll back up and I defined it as a constant number here. If I use that keyword const, it can't change in value. And that was perfectly fine before. But now that we want for that random number to keep changing over and over again, we need to instead use the let keyword. Let is like a regular variable that can change in value. So this does exactly what we would want it to do. All right, so if we run out of guesses or whatever, the thing is that we've defined a function. For a function to happen, you need to both define it and call it. You need to actually tell the code to do that function. So when should that happen? When should we reset the game? Well, it's when you're out of guesses is one of those situations. So here's the if guesses left is greater than or equal to 1. There's the end of that curly brace there. It just does nothing if that's not true. But now we actually want to handle that moment. What if you did run out of guesses? All right, so else, then reset. So this is how you call a function. You just say it by its name with the parentheses. We've actually been calling lots of functions to begin with. But here's how we call our own function, and that's when it tells it to happen. So this should at least be, if I attempt another guess, then at least it will reset the code, so then I could try it again on the next time around. But I think it's actually a little more complex than that. Um, it really should reset almost immediately after either you've lost on your last guess or you've won on any of your guesses. So I probably won't end up really needing this here, but at least it's possible. So then I get into, okay, winning the guesses. If guess is equal to random, so somewhere in here, yeah, set the background color and all that kind of stuff. But then that's a moment when I want to call reset. Is I won, so I need to reset the number. Give me something new. This else right here is only with each guess that I got my guess wrong. So I don't want to just throw it at the bottom of this. Um, because it should really only happen if I've run out of guesses in that moment that I'm on my last guess. So inside this else here, I actually want another if statement to dive a little bit further. So I'll come back and fix that. But this else right here is saying got guess wrong. Like that's why this is happening. So now I want to prove that this was my last guess. That's what I'm trying to write here. All right, so how do I know that this was my last guess? Well, that's if guesses left is equal to 1. I think that's what that's going to be. And I'm just going to take that curly brace and left a little bit. Yeah, this should work out. So if I've made a guess, I got it wrong, and guesses left is 1 in this very moment, that means that this was my last guess, because it's just going to turn around and decrease it to 0 later. So this is also where I want to call reset. Name with the parentheses. There are no parameters. That's why the parentheses are empty, because they're empty down below. Yeah, so important thing to remember is when you have a function, for it to actually happen, you have to define it, you have to write the code. We also have to call it. And I'm glad that I separate it this way because I'm calling the same code from 2 different places. So just having it as a function down here made things pretty readable, pretty nice. So I am thinking that logically I don't really need this anymore, but I don't think it's hurting anything. All right, so that should make it work to where I get a new random number then on that, on those guesses. And then the game resets and I get to try all over again.